So over the last 2.5 to 3 years now, I've been on this intense fitness and health journey, and I've been using things like the Apple Watch Ultra, the fitness application, but most importantly, the health application. Throughout this experience, I've learned just how valuable the health application has been for me personally, and what I want to do in this video is show off just how robust and how underrated Apple's health app is, because the abundance of data, the trends, the gamification, all kind of leads to a net positive of getting you into better shape and bringing you to an overall better status of health, which is what I've been able to do over these last 3 years with that health application. So without further ado, let's talk about the health app, the ins and outs, how to navigate it, how you can use it to your benefit, and I just want people to be aware of just how powerful this application is. Let's get into it. Now, before we do get started with everything, I want to caveat this piece right here. Do not fixate on the actual numbers and the values of every single metric themselves, but mostly focus on the trend data and the trend analysis. So if you're looking at your heart rate and you see a number that you don't like, don't focus on that number, but focus and compare it to what it's been like over the last week, over the last month, over the last half year, because that's what's really going to help you benefit down the line. These Apple Watches aren't perfect, they can give you some ranging datas overall, and I don't want people to start to freak out when they see a high heart rate when it should be lower, or vice versa. So again, focus on the trend data overall and don't fixate on the actual number, and then you'll have a very positive relationship with your Apple Watch and the fitness application, because if you start to fixate on things, then the relationship can be a little bit more detrimental than positive. But now that I got that out of the way, let's get into this video and learn all about this health app. Well, alright everyone, let's get into this video, and I do want to mention that I am running iOS 18.1 beta, but a lot of this stuff will be relatively the same if you're still running iOS 17, but if you are now watching this and you are on the public beta or the regular version of iOS 18, depending on when you're watching this, then it'll be just that much more accurate, and I will indicate some differences if I do see any as we move forward if you still are on iOS 17. But the first thing I'm going to do is just jump into the application itself, so let's go into the Health Kit app, we're going to go to Health, open it up, and then this is going to be what you're greeted with, and this is your dashboard. I'm going to break this up into different sections, so if you guys want to bounce around, definitely look at the description for the chapters below, but let's start off with this dashboard, with this homepage, and the summary page. So when you first open up the application, the first thing you're going to see by default will be any notifications. So as you guys can see here, I have my noise notifications turned on, so basically every time I'm around sounds that go above 90 decibels, I do get a notification either on my watch, on my phone, or then of course it'll show up in my summary until I actually X out of it. So you can see that yesterday I was probably in the car blasting music, or maybe my daughter yelled when she was around me, so I did get this notification, and you can see that it shows that I reached 100 decibels at one point, and you can tap in to get more details, understand what the issues are. So again, that is just the very first thing that you see, but I am going to X out of this, kind of swipe it away. And then if you do not have a notification, then this is where you're going to be greeted with. So this is going to be the one and only real difference between iOS 17 and iOS 18. With iOS 18, this section is going to be called pinned, and you can actually change these, which I'm going to show you in a second, and you can rearrange them, versus on iOS 17, I believe it's still called favorites, and you can actually add and remove some, you just can't reorder them. And what I have pinned here is my main fitness card, so I have my active energy, which is the total calories I burned today, my overall activity rings, because I do have my Apple Watch, and then of course I have my latest heart rate, and then you go into the show all health data. Now, before we get down there, I do want to show you how to actually rearrange and edit the actual homepage. So if you press on this edit button right here, you can actually pin pretty much anything that you want, or any data or any metric from the Apple Health Kit, from cycle tracking to hearing to heart rate. So for instance, if I want to add something kind of more trivial, let's say like exercise minutes, it'll pin, it'll show up there, we'll press done, and then you can see my exercise minutes are right here. And as you can see, there's a little hamburger here, so if I hold one down, move it down, press done, you can see that it does rearrange itself, showing that now the activity is up there at the top, and if I press edit, I can then rearrange them again. So you have my exercise minutes, active energy, activity, and then I even added workouts down there. So over time, you can start to kind of add this, rearrange it, customize it to whatever you see fit to show your most important cards, or I guess what's most relevant to you personally. And then if you want to get a view of literally everything, you can click on this right here that says show all health data, and then it'll show you every single health data that you can ever imagine that Apple tracks for you and keeps. Again, we're going to talk about privacy later on in the video, but this is everything, and it's broken down on chronological order and how frequently they actually update. So you can see that these are all the cards for today. So it's going to look at things like physical effort, resting energy, environmental sound levels, flights, climbs, stair speed. It's crazy how much data you actually get right here. Heart rate variability, resting heart rate, blood oxygen levels if you have that sensor attached to your Apple Watch. And then if you continue to scroll down, then you have stuff that's on the past 7 days. So this is more metrics that aren't really taken continuously, but they do get taken every now and then. So I would say on a weekly or maybe a couple of times a week. Shows you kind of the same thing, so 37 minutes for workouts, your walking steadiness, and then you have your past 30 days, which will be your cardio recovery, overall cardio fitness, your VO2 max, which I'm going to touch on in a little bit. But that is what it looks like when you look at all the health data. Now, as I mentioned in my disclaimer in the very beginning, you don't want to hyperfixate on the actual metrics and the numbers and the values because, again, these aren't medical devices. This is an Apple Watch. This is technically a consumer device, and it's not going to be 100% accurate 100% of the time. So what you really want to focus on is your trend data. If you're trending positively, then that's good. If you're trending negatively, then you want to make some adjustments and some arrangements. But the trend data is what's really going to set you apart to really gamify it and kind of make you feel as you're making progress because you actually are. But if you click on the trends, this gives you an overall look at all your trends. And as of right now, I have nothing that's trending either up and down, but it does give you kind of your overall look in terms of different active energy, your blood oxygen, exercise minutes. It gives you pretty much an average of everything that you deal with on a day-to-day, week-to-week, and month-to-month basis. So you can see my resting heart rate is about 51 beats per minute over the last 26 weeks. You can see that I've been getting about 6 hours and 40 minutes over the past 27 weeks, which we'll touch on in a bit at the end of the video, because I do track my sleep every single night. You have standing hours. So again, you can kind of go and run the gamut of all these different things you look at. You can see my cardio recovery, and then of course you can kind of look into them if you want to see a little bit more data. So if I go into not trending, if I go over the last year, so my daily average over the last year is about 897, 6 months 903, over the last month about 844. And you can see that it is kind of trending downwards a little bit because I am dealing with some injuries, so it's a little bit tougher to work out, but we're getting better over time. And then if you continue to scroll down, again, we're still on the same main page, so Apple does break this down kind of nicely so you're understanding what's going on. It'll give you the highlights. So this next section is all about what's happened most recently and what's actively going on. So you can see that my last workout was actually yesterday, normal workout session. I use an app called Strong Lifts for weight training. Highly recommend if you guys are looking to get into weight training. And then you have other cards like your steps. So it even compares your average steps on a day-to-day basis to where you're currently at. So as you can see right now, I haven't worked out today and I've been pretty sedentary. I've been at my desk all day. So my steps are pretty low compared to my daily average. And then you get to see your overall activity. So if you've closed your rings every single day or what the case is, you can tap in here to get some more granular data, as we're going to touch on in a bit. But you can continue to go down here, see your heart rate as you sleep, minimum of 41. That's pretty good. That usually means good heart health, which is awesome to see. I will say about 2 years ago, that 41 number was definitely not the case, but we'll touch on that as we go on. But we continue to look at different things here. So active energy, headphone audio levels, and then you go all the way down to where it says show all highlights. So once you get there, you can tap on the show all highlights, and individually you can click on every single section to understand how you're doing from a weekly, daily, and monthly highlight. So walking and running distance highlights, you can see that my running distances have been going down because I've been dealing with a foot injury like I mentioned, so haven't been able to run nearly as much as I want to, but hopefully we'll get that fixed very soon. And now we're rounding off the summary section. So if you go underneath all the highlights, this is the get more from your health. So this is essentially different options and different things that Apple recommends that you get involved with. So maybe setting up your medical ID, which I personally haven't done. I haven't really sent any of my health data to my healthcare provider because I'm just, that's not something that I'm going to do quite yet. Maybe eventually over time, especially if my healthcare provider really promotes it and they give me a net benefit for it, maybe I'll do that. You can see that there's different options like get a research app, get started with accessing your records, set up medications if you take any. And then you have your health checklist. I would definitely recommend going in here, seeing exactly what you have turned on, what you have turned off. So you can see that I have inactive my medical ID and then walking steadiness notifications. I don't feel like I don't need to set those up, but I do have a bunch of other ones that are set up. So these are these quote unquote life-saving features that Apple touts with their Apple Watch, their iPhone. So for instance, when it comes to crash detection, if you have an iPhone or an Apple Watch that supports that, this is turned on. So if it does feel a sudden stop or a jerk or again, a crash, it'll detect the authorities. Has fall detection, high heart rate notifications, low heart rate notifications. For instance, every now and then, probably once or twice a week, when I'm sleeping, I'll wake up to a notification of my heart rate going below 40, which is technically low, but for the most part, that does mean it's a good thing. But you can go in here and customize what these notifications give you on a per notification basis or per category basis. You have your ECG app, which is set up, your regular heart rhythm, blood oxygen, the Vitals app, which is awesome. We'll touch on that application in a little bit. As you saw in the very beginning, I have my noise notifications turned on, my headphone notifications. So I definitely recommend going in here, seeing what you have turned on, and seeing what you want to turn on or turn off in terms of what you want to have active for your health checklist. And in the final section, it's just some health articles that get updated over time to give you a baseline knowledge of what you're dealing with, what data you're looking at, what it means if your cardio fitness is low or why hearing health matters. Again, just a couple articles to get you into the loop and get you kind of in that same vernacular and that same jargon to understand what the data you're looking at does long term. That is going to be the first page of your health application, and if you want to go to the top, you can just tap on that summary again, or if I'm all the way scrolled down, just tap on the top of the screen and you're able to scroll all the way back up. So that is going to be the first section, and I do recommend just getting familiar with everything that you want to see on here. Now let's go to the navigation toggles and go to sharing. Now sharing is an interesting one because it isn't the same thing as your fitness sharing. So if I go to the fitness application, you can see that you can actually share your workouts and things like that. So this is a little bit different. Health sharing is, instead of sharing your fitness, you're sharing actual health data. So you can see this is my brother. He accidentally shared it with me a couple times ago, thinking he was sharing his fitness, but I can go in here and look at all of his health data if he gives me the option to. So you do have the option to share with somebody else, and also have the option to have somebody share it with you when it comes to health sharing. So again, you just share with someone or ask somebody to share. You also have the option to share with your doctor if that's something that your healthcare provider does. So if you tap on that, you can share it with your doctor to kind of measure your vitals, so it uploads into their system. Again, something that I haven't personally done. You can also go in here and look at all the different applications that you're either currently sharing with or that you've unshared with in terms of uninstalled applications. So for instance, I have my Omron Connect, which is a blood pressure reader, which I use every now and then because my family has a history of high blood pressure, and I like to measure it probably once or twice a week. And you can see that everything here is turned on both sides. So it's going to be able to read and write the data both on the Health Kit side app as well as on the Omron app side as well. So here you can manually toggle what you want to be shared. If you want to share all this data with the actual application and vice versa, I like to keep it all turned on because at the end of the day, it's fine for me to share my health data in that situation. But you can see there's other applications here, like this is my workout application, so I'm able to track my workouts by leaving this turned on, which is cool to see. And then if you can go into the data itself and let the data load, and it'll show you all the data that it's been tracking over time. So if you go into active energy, you can see all the recorded data. And you can see on a day-by-day basis, every single time that I go and hit a workout with the Strongest application, you can go in here and you can change it. And again, what's beautiful about this is that yes, there's a lot of data that's being put onto your phone, but it is your data and you have the right to change every single aspect of that data. So if you want to, you can go in here and edit it, you can delete each one, and you can get a little bit more granular once we touch on how to actually add data yourself if you want to. And then the very last option is going to be down here in the research studies. Again, I'm not part of any research studies, and leave a comment down below if you know somebody or you yourself have been using a research study that can be tracked and managed through the Apple Health app. I haven't personally seen anybody do it or have seen any kind of information on it, but it is an option there if you do want to partake in research studies. And then the last toggle on the bottom right is going to be your browse section. So this is pretty much almost like your app library version inside of the health app. This is where you can search for any metric, any value. You can go through any of these categories, tap into them, get more data. So this is kind of just a huge database of all the information that's being looked at, and you can easily search through it. So to give you guys an example, if I go to my activity, it'll show you all the different metrics and values that it's going to search for in activities in terms of categorizing it based on exercise minutes, stand hours, how we saw earlier. And then of course, if you want to, you can tap into one. So this is going to be my VO2 max, and this is going to be a great example of how the Apple Health Kit has really changed how I view health and how I've been able to gamify everything. So if I touch on the above average, it'll let you know that I am above average in VO2 max. Leave a comment down below what your VO2 max levels are. Mine is at about 50 right now, but you can kind of go down here and get some more information on each metric once you click on it. So it'll explain to you what VO2 max, about cardio fitness. So this is a measurement of your VO2 max, which is the maximum amount of oxygen your body can consume during exercise, etc., etc. So to let you know, hey, the higher this is, the more fit you are overall from a cardiovascular standpoint. And now this is a great segue into how to actually view and interact with all this data. So there's a couple different things that you can do here, and for the most part, each one of these sections are exactly the same. You can add data here, understand your levels of fitness in terms of whatever category you're looking at, an explainer of what this metric means, and then you can go down here and also get articles to learn a little bit more about your cardio fitness, very similar to how we saw in the very beginning, where in the summary gives you some overall articles and information. This gets a little bit more granular into each individual metric to let you know exactly what you're looking at and why it's important, if it even is. But again, in order to manage it, you can look at it on a day-by-day basis, you can look at it on a weekly basis, you can start to look at it as a monthly basis. So if I look at my year and I can actually scroll through, first you can see that the scale changed because I believe when I turned 30, it lowered it a little bit in terms of what was above average and what was maximum and things like that. But if I swipe over to the left, you can see just how low this was. So I believe this is 2022, April, it was at 37. And this is kind of where I really started to take my health seriously. And then it started to kind of increase over time. I started to run, and then you actually see exactly where it went. So it went from about 37 all the way to as high as 53.4. So that was kind of when I was maxing out. This is kind of where I started to get some injuries with my feet because, again, I guess my body wasn't meant to be running long distance, but as I keep mentioning, we'll get that fixed and get back on track. And you can see that because I've been working out less from a cardiovascular standpoint, it has been lowering, and now I've actually dipped below 50. Now it's still above average according to my age and things like that. I would love to have it above 52 just to make sure that I'm there, because cardio fitness to me is actually one of the most important things when it comes to health and fitness. And now maybe you do have other ways to measure your VO2 max that's a little bit more accurate. You can actually add data manually. So if you tap on that add data, it'll kind of pre-populate the date and the time, and you can put a value in for your VO2 max. And then if I scroll all the way down, you do have a couple other options. You can pin it to your summary from here, which is awesome. You also have the ability to show all of your data, so every single time your VO2 max was measured, which is cool to see. And like I mentioned, you can edit that data to delete each one. You can go into here and kind of see exactly what's going on. And then of course, you can look at where this is actually coming from. So you can see that my Apple Watch is what's gathering all my VO2 max data, which is great. And then lastly, you can change the unit of measurement, which is great to see. So if you are dealing with the metric system or you are dealing with the imperial system, you can kind of decide which one you want to go with. But that is how it's going to look like for each individual metric. Now, I do quickly want to touch on the Apple Fitness app before we continue with the health app, but if we go to the fitness application, there were some nice changes overall, and I did mention this in my most recent watchOS 11 video, but there's a couple things that I do want to bring up when it comes to the fitness app. First and foremost is the ability to actually edit your different cards here. So iOS 18 brings that ability. So if you go down here, you can actually edit summary, and then it turns into wiggle mode, right? You're able to move these around. So if I long press, move it down, you're able to add more cards if you want to. So these are a bunch of different ones that you can add if you would like to, as you see fit. You can press done. And then also if I long press, let's say on the step count, it'll give me different options of what step count I want. So do I want my step count like this, or do I want my step distance to be shown, which is great. So that's a new little option to be able to edit and see exactly what's most important to you, very similar to the pin section in the summary in the health app. And then the other thing that I want to bring up is two things for the actual fitness in the rings. So first and foremost, you can actually change your goals. And you could always change your goals before, but it would be on a daily basis. So this is the way that it would be with iOS 17 and prior. It makes you decide on a calorie goal, on a move goal, and then that would be your calorie goal on a daily basis. But now with iOS 18, because some people don't work out every single day, right? Some people don't really want to do that. Some people take the weekends off, like myself. So during the week, I want my calorie burn to be 700, but on the weekends, I want it to be a little bit lower because again, I'm not working out, I'm not kind of spending more time with my family, I'm walking around a lot, but I'm not in the gym, I'm not running. So my move goal is a lot lower on Saturday and Sunday. And you can do that and customize your schedule that way. And the second nice update is the ability to pause your rings. So before, let's say if you did hit the weekend and you didn't meet your calorie goals because, again, I'm more sedentary on the weekends, then you would lose a streak, right? A lot of people like to have their streaks and like to be able to build that. Now with pausing your rings, you can do that. You can do it for the day, for the month, for the week, until a certain time period. So it doesn't count against your streak if you want to take that day off on the Apple Ring side. So some nice little additions just to help you from a psychological standpoint, I guess. So you feel like you kind of can have a break overall. So I do want to talk about some other categories real quick before we finalize this video because they're the ones that I kind of take into account the most. So if we go again into our browse section in the health app, there's a couple ones that I like to talk about. So the first one's going to be sleep tracking. Now sleep tracking on watchOS 11 specifically got an update where it now has auto sleep detect versus before with iOS 17 and watchOS 10, you would need to go into your sleep focus mode in order to actually activate the sleep tracking to begin. But now we do have auto detect, which has been a great feature. So even if you fall asleep early, fall asleep late, maybe even take a nap, it'll track that sleep. But the sleep application, again, is very powerful. And for the most part, it's pretty accurate, right? So you can see here and kind of go with my last night's sleep that I'm in my core sleep most of the night. I hit this deep sleep for a couple minutes. And down here, I hit it for a couple minutes as well. And then as you can see here, my alarm goes off at 6 a.m. And then I kind of snooze it a couple times. And then as you can see, I do finally wake up at around 6:49. And then you can kind of start to see some other highlights with your sleep. So you can see my heart rate while I'm sleeping. So high at 51, low of 41, which I believe is pretty normal and pretty good. Your respiratory rate while you sleep. So again, obviously your respiratory rate is going to be a lot lower. Your average duration of sleep for the week, so a little under 7 hours, even though I try to get like 7 to 8 hours. And then you can check out your schedule that you can actually set yourself for your sleep schedule to be turned on. So every night at 10:30 p.m., every weeknight at least, it'll turn on my sleep mode, but you don't have to have that on anymore because like I said, there is auto sleep detect. And then as you go to the bottom, you do get a little blurb down here that lets you know exactly why sleep is important, as well as different app recommendations, and then all the data that we spoke about before. The next one that was added on here with iOS 17 was going to be your mental well-being. So mental well-being is a brand new app section to the Health Kit app that can actually be accessed with your Apple Watch as well. and it takes into account all the different metrics and values of what would kind of correlate to your mental health and well-being. So you can have, your exercise, obviously, time in daylight. Over the past 12 months, you can give your anxiety risk, because there is a new feature where you can go into the state of mind and tap on here and actually log how you're feeling. So you can tap on this log button, log your total emotions, and then from that, it'll start to inference and make some assumptions as to what your anxiety risk is, what your depression risk is. As you can see, I don't really mess with that too much. January 4th was my last journal entry here. March 13th was my last journal entry here. And mindfulness minutes, again, July 1st was the last time I did anything. So again, if you do want to take advantage of this to kind of log how you've been feeling throughout the day, I do believe it's going to have a positive impact over time. It's just something that I personally, haven't prioritized at all, which I kind of think that I should. And then the final update, which we'll get with iOS 18, is going to be the Vitals. So Vitals is a perfect application, or a perfect, glance at how you are doing from a health standpoint. So Vitals app is going to take 5 different metrics into account. It's going to take your heart rate, your respiratory rate, your wrist temperature, your blood oxygen level, and then your sleep duration. And if it falls within a certain kind of window, then you can look at it at a glance and understand that, you're relatively healthy for this day, as opposed to going through all this hundreds and hundreds of data points that Apple gives you through the health app. So I like this because it kind of reduces that overwhelming nature of all the data that you get with the health app, and then you can see over time how it's been. So over the last month, I've been kind of in that middle ground, which is typical, which is perfect. So if something does happen, I do get notified. Maybe your heart rate's a little too high when you're sleeping, or maybe your wrist temperature is a little too low, or maybe the amount of sleep has been lower because you were out late last night, and it'll let you know and it will alert you. So overall, my vitals are pretty typical. But you can see here that last night, my respiratory rate was on the lower end. I'm not really sure why that was the case, because it was a normal night, but something to take into account. And then it gives you, of course, the explainer about what the vitals is, what it's looking at. And this will be available to everybody on watchOS 11 and iOS 18, which is my favorite new application for watchOS 11, aside from the training load aspect. But that is everything that you can do with the health application. And I didn't even touch on things like medication, because I don't have any medication built in here. But if you do want to add a medication, you can add it right here. You can search it based on name, so maybe like a Tylenol or something if you want to. So acetaminophen, type how often you want to do it. It's a capsule, so you can be reminded when to take your medications, how often to take it, how much to take it, and things like that. Because again, there are some people that take medications on a daily, weekly basis, and they take multiple medications, and they need to be reminded of that. So this is just a great reminder and a great kind of repository to store all that data. But I like to look at this data a lot. I gamify this experience a ton, and it's really helped my overall health, as you saw with my VO2 max, my lowered heart rate, and things like that. But let's finish up this video. I know it's a long one. Hopefully you learned something new. So as you can see, the health app is pretty exhaustive. There's a bunch of data, so much data, almost to the point where it could be too much. That's why I love the new Vitals application with iOS 18. But I do love the health application because at the end of the day, I'm a numbers guy, I'm a data nerd at heart. So being able to see all this trend data, be able to kind of maximize myself and gamify the health experience has helped wonders overall, especially these last 2.5, 3 years. You can see that my average heart rate has decreased, my VO2 max has gone way higher because I am exercising, because I am gamifying everything, and it just makes me feel, even if it is just a psychological thing, it makes me feel better overall about my current health state, and I hope that this kind of helps translate over to you guys. And of course, the health application has a bunch of other stuff that we mentioned, like being able to honestly save your life in a detrimental situation with fall detection and heart rate detection and things like that. So definitely take a look at the health app, see how much data you have in it, see if you've been using it, use it to your advantage overall so we can all live better, healthier, and happier lives. But that'll do it, everybody. If you made it to the end, leave a little dolphin in the comments down below so I know you made it to the end. Leave a comment down below if you learned anything new, if you use the health app, if you're going to start using the health app a little bit more after this video. And if you guys want to watch more videos like this one, YouTube thinks you're going to like this video right here, and I personally think you're going to like this video down here. But until next time, I'm Fernando. I'm out of here, everybody. Peace. Again, take advantage of the tools you have around you that you basically already paid for.